Welcome to Palm Harbor Local, a podcast dedicated to building community and sharing inspiring stories from the heart of Palm Harbor. I'm your host, Donnie Hathaway, and today we are joined by Gonzo Mora, who's the owner of CorFitness Athletic Studio. Palm Harbor Local is all about spotlighting individuals who are making a difference, overcoming challenges, and fostering connections right here in our hometown. If you are passionate about growing together, getting involved, and celebrating the people who are making Palm Harbor thrive, you're exactly where you need to be. In today's episode, you'll discover why Gonzo took over the gym in 2023, his vision for the future of CorFitness Athletic Studio, and why Gonzo believes in community both inside and outside the gym. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Palm Harbor Local for behind-the-scenes highlights, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter at palmharborlocal.com. Now let's dive in and build community together. Gonzo, welcome to the Palm Harbor Local podcast.
Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. Let's start with what it is you do and kind of who you are right now.
As a business,
Yeah.
or me?
Yeah, as your business. Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, what we really focus on, we used to be a CrossFit gym, so we still have a lot of members that like that type of workout. So we do have, cross training style. We are not a CrossFit affiliate any longer. So the reason for that is we've added yoga and aerial classes as well with a Gypsy Air partnership. And we've also introduced a youth athletic program.
Okay.
So it's a performance-based program for youth athletes to build on their speed, their vertical jumps, stabilize the small muscles that really help your large muscles do what they need to do when you're on your field or track or court. And it's really been a great way to kind of add back to the community. The key to our business is the people that work out there. It's not necessarily the workouts. It's not the owners or anything along those lines. It's really when you get there and the people who are pushing you along. That's what motivates you to get up the next morning or come back after work the next day and really get to it and keep your goal going.
Mm-hmm. So you guys recently took over this gym, correct?
Yeah, we're almost a little over 18 months.
Okay.
So we took over in August of 23.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a gym for, like we were just talking about before, 13 plus years, something like that, right? What led to you taking over the gym and kind of making this transition into what it is today?
Yeah, it was really twofold. My partner and I did it to help out a friend, who just needed some help, and we didn't want to find another gym or another group of members to really push us along in this journey. And so, we just injected some money into it to build it up and change it a little bit. Give us a little bit more of an advantage. And then from there, just keeping the community together. I mean, that was really the main goal, is to keep the community together and continue to improve on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. It seems like that's a big part of like any gym, whether you go to like a larger gym where there's, all different group types of people and stuff, but the community aspect of any gym, I think the CrossFit gyms like have more of that because you're in the classes and stuff together than like your typical commercial gym where, you're going as an individual and you don't have the group classes. But the community aspect, right, is a big part of going to the gym.
Completely, and especially in group classes, group workouts. You start building on each other. The first time you go in there, you're received by people, right? So if you went into a regular gym like a Planet Fitness or LA Fitness or whatever you want to call it, first time you're in there, you may or may not know somebody. If you don't know anybody, it's tough to kind of talk to people, right? Not so much for guy to guy, right? But for women, it's much different, right? If a guy approaches them or if even another girl approaches them, there's, a different feel. Whereas when you're walking into a group setting, you welcome the approach because you feel like an outsider coming in. So when people approach you, you feel like they're actually welcoming you and you're part of the class and the group. And so the other piece of that is that the coach helps tremendously. So the coach receives you, introduces you to the class, During warm up or during cool down, we may have some, question and answer, where, people get to know each other and things like that. And then conversations start in different ways and relationships start building and you start seeing people carpool, versus anything else. The classes always start at the same time. So it's not a matter of, oh, I'll make it at 7:30 or I'll make it at, whatever time it's, you have certain times that you can get there.
Yeah. I remember like when my wife and I, when we did like a group fitness, it was Camp Gladiator, like outdoor fitness.
Yeah.
And it like to this day, like we're still friends with some of those people that we went to, camp with way back then. And that was, that might've been almost 10 years ago now. But yeah, it's like, and you're right. Like that was a big part of it too. I remember we did like the early morning workouts. So it was like 5 a.m. or 5:30 or something like that, So like that group of people, they're getting up for a reason. Like they're dedicated to taking care of themselves and stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
or it really might be the only time they
Yeah.
have that is fixed.
yeah.
Right. So that's, for me, the 5 a.m. is the only time I can make sure that me and my boys go every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I try to go at 6, sometimes we can't make it. 7, we definitely can't make it. They start school too early. And then the 5:30 class, I mean, anything can happen during the day where some days you're going to make it, some days you're
Yeah.
not going to make it. So,
Yeah.
so the 5 a.m. for sure is the time that there's no interruptions. It's just a matter of whether you wake up or
Yeah.
not.
Can you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing because, everybody starts to kind of build their relationships in those classes, right? And when I first joined, I tried out every class so that I can see the different people who are different, right? So one day I would show up at 6, the other day I'd show up at 7, 8, and then I did the 3 o'clock. The schedules were way different back then, but every class had its own like atmosphere, right? So some of them would be younger, some of them would be older, some of them would be more female, some of them would be more like competitive males, or so you really kind of pick what works for you. But it really created an opportunity for me to not only meet all the members, but it was good. And I mean, I had a Groupon, so I remember I got in for $10 for the first month, and my goal was just to go meet people. I had just moved to the area,
Cool.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that you're still friends with people from Camp Gladiator. When I did CrossFit the first time, I did Sparta, and it was, they were in Tampa. They're no longer around, but and I'm still friends with them, and it's been 15, 16, 17 years since that happened.
Yeah. What did you notice, like when you first started, when you moved here and you tried all the different classes and different times and stuff, which one did you end up selecting? Like which time did you find your group with? And then why? Like what stood out to you about that group?
I ended up staying with the 6 a.m.
Okay.
And it was mostly because, like me, they were, business professionals that were trying to get stuff done in the morning and make sure that they had a routine. It was the kind of mentality that we all shared was get it done early so that we can go get our life done and not have to worry all day about, I got to get back to the gym.
Yeah.
The afternoon people were actually they worked early, right? So they couldn't make it to the classes at 6 a.m. So they would come in. So then every once in a while I would sleep in or whatnot and then go into the afternoon and it was fine there too because it was a bunch of good people at that time as well.
Cool. So let's go back to like your transition into like owning the business and running the business.
Yeah.
Like what was that transition like some obstacles that you had to overcome, some challenges you faced during that time? And had you owned a business before that, or this is your first?
Nothing like this.
Okay.
I had never owned a gym. I was a diving coach for a long time in Arizona. So I had my small business with that. And then I had a real estate business, which I still own some properties, but nothing like what we're doing now, the day-to-day running and anything like that. But challenges, I mean, I think the biggest challenge was, connecting with the community as now we have decision making and what we wanted to see from them and what they wanted to see from us. So really understanding what they liked about the situation, what they wished that we could improve on. That's where some of the equipment changes and, things like that came into play to make it a little bit nicer. We made some decisions that weren't received very well, and, that's understandable, right?
Mm.
But, so trying to balance the fact that we went from just being friends to now my decisions make, people angry or
Yeah.
upset or sad or happy or, whatever emotion comes from a decision I make. I mean, that was tough because, from the beginning, the goal was to get the community together.
Yeah.
And as decisions took place, we lost some, gained some, and, we're building on that foundation.
What led to this like new direction? Like, where did that come from versus just like trying to make small improvements over like what it was? And before it was just strictly like a CrossFit gym,
Correct.
like with the group classes and whatnot. Investing is extremely important, but it can also be somewhat confusing. With taxes, asset allocation, stocks, bonds, and funds, to know what to do with all this could be overwhelming. Jacob Wade is a financial coach and will work directly with you to put together a roadmap for your money, for life. Jacob has built a name for himself as a finance expert, and you can find his writings in places like Forbes Advisor, Money.com, Investopedia, and Time.com. But he has a passion for helping people create a clear and simple investment roadmap to buy back their time and retire with confidence. If you could use a financial coach on your team, then simply go to palmharborlocal.com/roadmap to book a call with Jacob today and see if hiring a financial coach could help you crush your 2025 goals. Don't wait to have that same feeling next year of not hitting your financial goals. Connect with Jacob today and let's make 2025 your best financial year yet.
Yeah. So it was group class CrossFit gym, and it was open 5 hours a day, right? So you have 19 hours of useless space. So what really made the decision was we're not touching the community in the right way, right? So we added yoga, we added aerial, we added the kids program, we added 24-hour access. So all our members get trained to understand what it's like to open the gym. If they want the 24-hour access, they don't need to. It's included in their package, but there's some people that only would like to do it within the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they know how to come in, open the doors, turn the lights on, make sure everything's safe. And they've done enough classes to where we as coaches know that they understand the movements. They're not going to, be in there by themselves trying to lift 400 pounds when they know they can't do more than 250,
Yeah.
So things like that. And, but the decision of just, ripping the Band-Aid, right, type of thing was done because you can only kick the can down the road for so long,
Mm-hmm.
And as that's working, as you're building what your vision of your community is, the hard part comes when you're not seeing the end of the road because you're focused on the pebbles along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so hard for me to take. And it was actually hurting me physically. Like I couldn't work out for 2.5 months. I could barely walk. I was in crutches.
Wow.
And it was just stress related.
Yeah.
Like as soon as we ripped the Band-Aid, I'm running again.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a week.
Crazy.
And I didn't know it was stress related until I was in crutches on a Thursday. I left Friday morning to go to a wedding in Colorado. Saturday, I was dancing at the wedding, and I was like, oh, this is great. I feel great. I went skiing, felt great. Came back on Monday, and I was walking around fine. I did a workout. I felt awesome. Tuesday, couldn't walk.
So you just get back into the business, the stress hits you, and your body just crumbles.
Yeah, just shut down from hips down. My knees were swollen. My ankles were swollen. I mean, it was just...
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it was bad. So, but I'm telling you, then, like I said, then we made the changes, and I've been fine ever since.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was tough. Don't get me wrong. I lost a lot of good friends, but I didn't lose them as friends. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
I didn't lose them as friends. I lost them as daily companions in my workout routines. But we're still moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean, that happens, like, with any time you change, right? And I feel like you have to, like you talk about being 1% better every day or better every day. I mean, that's a big part of it. Like, you have to be able to adapt and go through those changes to grow and be better. And you're always anytime you're changing anything, like, there's gonna be people that agree with it and people that don't agree with it, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of it.
And you have to take the risk,
Yeah.
right? So our slogan is better than yesterday.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what we focus on. And the reason we say that is because whatever you're doing today has to be to make you better than yesterday. If the action you're taking right now isn't moving you in the direction you want to go to, you shouldn't be taking that action.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are I guess, like, give us an overview of, like, what you guys are about now and what you guys offer at Core Fitness.
Yeah. So we still have the group classes and we focus on cross training. So really focused on we're called Core Fitness because COR is the root for in Latin for heart. So we're really focused on the cardiovascular piece of the body. Working from the inside out.
Okay.
If you have good core, right, then your legs and arms and head can be strong, right? But if your core is not there, then it's difficult to keep going. So a lot of our workouts are focused on engaging your core to then be able to use your arms and legs. So that's what we really shoot for. And with that, we're building a lot of muscle, right? So as we build muscle, then your metabolism improves, your heart improves, your, fat burning and calorie burning improves. A lot of times people think that the time that you're at the gym is the time that you're burning calories. Well, you're at the gym for an hour, you're burning calories for 24 hours, right? But it's how you do what you do at the gym that allows you to burn efficiently later on. So building muscle is the number one way to continue to burn for the rest of the day. Whereas if you go to the gym and you do the treadmill for an hour, you're burning during that time, but then your body's actually in a different state for the rest of the day, right? It's in a recovery state versus a burning state. We do a lot of running and cardio and, in our workouts. So it's not knocking the running. I think running is extremely important.
Yeah, has its place.
Yeah, well, it's more than has its place, right? Like you see some of the statistics that come out. People over 30, may never sprint again. Like you think about that for a second, and as an athlete, right? I know
30,
you're right, right?
yeah.
As an athlete, you're going, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking of people and it's like, would you ask them to sprint? There's probably a bunch of people you'd be like, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even ask them to do it, let alone do I think they could. So it's kind of crazy to think about those things. So then, you start to involve that kind of stuff into the workouts so that we challenge the status quo, right? Why aren't you jumping? Why aren't you sprinting? And it's because we don't trust our bodies anymore. So when we're working with seniors or when we're working with injured people, right? If you're at home and you need to change a light bulb and you need to step on a stool or a chair or whatnot, the last thing I need you to be thinking of is I can get really hurt if I just have to step down quickly. If I lose my balance and I have to step down quickly, I'm going to get hurt. So our goal is to train that. You're not going to train it in a day. So little things, build up. So stepping onto a box, stepping off to a box, stepping on, stepping off, moving side to side, jumping over a line. I'm not asking you to do a broad jump of 8 feet, right? Just jump over the line.
Yeah.
Right? So just get those little muscles comfortable to where if you're up on that stool and you lose your balance a little bit, your body says, I got this. I step off a box all the time,
Yeah.
And I've seen 60-year-old women jumping on, 20, 24-inch boxes, missing it, falling to their side, getting up laughing and saying, man, like that could have been, that could have been way worse if I haven't been doing this for as long as I've been doing it. So, it's it's an exciting thing to see the progression, and you see the differences when people really dive in. And we have some great members that are so committed to themselves and to the community, and um, it's just so motivating to just you want to be there to see them, and then in turn you become better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple things that stood out, like it reminds me of, I watched a documentary on like the blue zones, like some of the healthiest regions in the world.
Yeah.
And like one of the things they talk about, I think it might have been in like Japan, like there's a blue zone in Japan or something over there. And they talk about their core strength because I think it was they sat on the floor, like they didn't sit in chairs, right?
Correct.
So just the act of like sitting down on the floor and then having the strength to get up and stuff and like doing that over a long period of time.
Yeah. They
Like
get up
makes
without hands.
right, yeah.
Most people here we're very comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Most people here can't sit and stand up without using their hands.
Yeah. They gotta like lean over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I don't have the flexibility yet. I say yet because we're working on that, right? And I'm getting better. But I'm one of them where I struggle to, you know, get all the way down to the ground and then stand right back up without using my extremities in different ways.
Yeah. And then the running, like you mentioned, like I used to run a lot too. And I recently started doing more strength training, and I've noticed just a difference in the way I feel and like going about the day. Like you said, just your balance, like moving through things, lifting heavier boxes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like the core strength, the strength training is obviously it's an essential part of like being healthy, like long term, too.
Right.
And one thing for me that triggered all of it was the like learning just like how difficult it can be to build strength the later you get in life.
Absolutely.
Right. So I think it's like after 40, like
Yeah.
you really start to diminish like how,
Atrophy speeds up.
yeah.
Yeah. It's after 30, but it doesn't really speed up to a level where it's noticeable.
Okay.
But after 40, 45-ish, you start to see atrophy add up, right? And that's where muscle creates longevity, right? And running creates muscle too. It's just your body's not going to be
Right.
as strong if you're not doing anything up there. But because I mean, muscles it's just created by tearing it. And you know that when you run X or even at a certain speed, right?
Yeah.
You're tearing the muscle. That's why you get sore.
Yeah.
So, and diet, the blue zones, like you were saying. So not only is core very important, but then the diet comes into play. And unfortunately we're in a situation where people are starting to notice that there's a lot of politics that play into our diet and, how, our choices hurt us. And I just, we should be focused on the right choices,
Yeah. What how long has like fitness been a part of your life? Like I know you mentioned before, like you were a coach and did swimming and stuff.
Yeah. So I've grown up in sports my whole life. So I've always been in sports, and I was in martial arts. I wrestled, I did diving, and that's what got me into college. I coached several Olympians, several national champions, and started really focusing on weightlifting. That's when I got too thick to be a diver anymore. So really fell in love with the push, the mental aspect of it. And then as going to the gym got boring for me, just by myself or with the same one or two people, then I found group classes, and that, created a whole different atmosphere. It was like going back to being on a team, right? So if you grew up in sports, you understand the importance of going to practice, right? Not because you're getting better, but because you go to practice most of the time. And today you see it significantly. I see it with my kids. They go just to be with their friends more than I want to do this drill or I want to get better at this, right? It's all about
I want to hang out with so and so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the same for us as adults, right? What it really does, just like as you're going through school all the way through college, right, you're put into this age gap, right? When you're going into high school, it's like, oh, you're a freshman, but there's seniors there, and the seniors don't want to talk to the freshmen, and so on and so forth, right? Um, and then you move through that level, always being like, oh, I'm less than these people or more than these people based on what age I am. Then you get into corporate America or you get into the world, right? And you realize you're working side by side with a 60-year-old, or you're working, side by side with a 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to figure out that you're all at the same level and you all have to move this ball forward.
Yeah.
And that's what group training does as well. You walk in and you may feel like you're strong and there's going to be workouts that it's all about your strength. And then you're going to come in the next day and it's not your strength and you're now feeling like you're inferior to those around you. And that is so powerful, right? It's kind of like if corporate America was allowed to post reviews in ranking order,
Yeah.
right? So you could see I'm 10th on my team. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That would be so powerful.
Yeah.
Right? They keep it quiet because they want to make sure everybody's happy, right?
Yeah.
So that's losing that bit of it, but you get that from the group training. And sometimes you have partner WODs, and it might be me and you, and again, your strength is running, and if our partner WOD doesn't have running but it has deadlifting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're looking at me like, please help me
Carry the
deadlift.
load.
Yeah, carry the load here, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? Or we all go down and wait a little bit, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like we got to make sure that we are pushing each other, evenly. Like the mental strength and the physical strength will all come into play, but it's the mentality of the group that really creates that excellence.
Yeah. So going back to like the corporate America, or just working in a job in a company, and like that group team aspect, I'm sure there's some companies that have that nailed, and they create that camaraderie and where they're all motivating each other and stuff like that. But do you think that's missing a lot from these larger companies? And is that come from like, some of the individuals like not growing up in team sports and stuff like that? Because I grew up playing baseball too, so like, the team aspect, the camaraderie aspect of it all, like I understand that. And do you think? I mean, I feel like there's so much you can learn from team sports too.
Yeah, and I'm obviously biased from that perspective because I grew up in that space. But if I were running a business where I was hiring multiple people, right, I would always be looking for athletes and military, like, because especially team sport athletes or collegiate athletes who were part of, because it might be like diving is not a team sport until you're in college, and then you're an event for the swim team, right? So you're competing as a team. But the reason I say that is because you really get an opportunity to learn, like, what's my task, right? What's my role here?
Mm-hmm.
And in a team sport, right, you can't do everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be the pitcher and the catcher, right? You can't be first base, second base. So you get really good at what you are meant to be, right? And that's so strong. So when you're bringing that mentality in as a business owner, then you're now, all you have to do is explain your vision and explain where you see them as a big part of that vision. And most of the time they'll buy in,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say, all right, and they'll know what their strengths are, and they're going to put their strengths into it, not just their time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I like that. That's and I wonder, I'm sure you can get that like out without team sports, whatever, right? But I feel like as a young kid growing up and stuff, like that's a great way to learn, that trait or that skill set of being able to just work together as a team, see the larger picture, and focus on your role.
Completely. And like you said, you don't have to be in team sports, right? But surrounding yourself with people who have that kind of mentality. And that could be as simple as coming to a group class or joining a running group, right? Not everybody's going to run the same pace.
Yeah.
But if you know that Saturday long run is going to be a group run, so we're all going to run the same pace. So the weakest link, that's the pace we're running, right? I don't want to call them the weakest link, but it is what it is. Like that's what we're going to run as a group. We're not just going to run at the same time. Right? You know what I mean? That's the type of chip that some people have, and others don't. Not saying that one's better than the other. I'm just saying that depending on what your goal is and what your vision is, that's really where you want to elevate that mentality, right? Is it's not about me, right? It's how do we get the whole group to be better, and that's what this community is about, right? That's what your podcast is about.
Yeah.
That's why when we met, it was so easy for me to connect with you because I was like, man, like that's my mentality.
Yeah.
My mentality isn't about it's not like our goal in our gym is to make it a co-op where everybody becomes an owner. But if we did that right now, we'd be charging everybody way too much. You know what I mean? We don't have enough members. But as we continue to grow and we're going to be able to cover all expenses, then every member makes it cheaper for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. Like if I could get, I think I have 38 members right now. If I can get to 100, every single one of our members would be paying $50.
Crazy.
Yeah. Versus what we're paying now. And I mean, it's kind of nuts to think about it that way, but we're right there.
Yeah.
All we need to do is continue to build the foundation of the community we want to embrace, right? I'm a big believer in Jesus Christ, and I think that he put me here to be able to do that. I'm not smart enough to know it quickly.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. So I got to go through the process, and I got to continue to pray, and I got to continue to listen and learn.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to roll your sleeves up and hop into it.
I think that's I mean that's a good point, right? Like I don't think anything comes easy. Even if you've been in business for a long time, right? There's always obstacles or challenges and stuff. I mean, even with the podcast too, like we're in the new studio now, like there were some challenges the last few weeks of like getting to this space and stuff. And I've been doing the podcast for 5 years now, so it's like there's always obstacles to overcome, but I just having that mindset of like, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and I'm going to take on this challenge today and I'll be better for it. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to meet Brandon, who's our coach.
Yeah.
He's going to be doing ruck marches.
Oh, cool.
Like every month on Saturdays. He'll do one a month or one every other month or something like that, just to kind of get the community involved. It's not, it's free to everybody. Just come out. We'll start at the gym. We'll walk down to Palm Harbor, or up to Tarpon or whatever, because we're right next to the trail.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go far, and then from there, get to know each other, walking, talking, and then, bringing friends along. And, I think it's easier to say, hey, let's challenge ourselves for an hour of walking with a ruck on than it is to tell somebody, hey, come lift with me.
Yeah. Or let's go run 10 miles.
Yeah. Or let's go run 10 miles. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe we'll just meet at a bar or something, like that. We do that too. We've done that in the past. We've tried doing like events at our gym and things like that. So, I think like I said, we're really building a strong foundation as to when you walk in, you're going to be introduced to people who care about themselves, care about the gym, and care about making others better. And, as that continues to build, it'll just snowball. We just have to have the patience to let it get there.
Yeah. Yep. And just stick with it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it too. So we talked a little bit kind of like throughout the conversation, but like communication is a big part of, I think, a business and especially like as you transition into the, this new concept and what you guys have now. Talk to me a little bit about just like that piece, that part of like your business, like communicating with the with the members and stuff, and like, bringing them along. And obviously some of them, didn't stick with you, but what's important there?
More important than communicating to the members is having the right message as a team. So if you're talking to me, or if you're talking to Pablo, or if you're talking to Brandon, it should be the same message. Because if we're not delivering the same message, then the members don't know which way to run. Especially if one member talks to Pablo and the other member talks to me, we deliver different messages and then they talk to each other. Well, that's not what I heard.
Yeah.
So then that creates trust issues. It creates, a mentality of uncertainty. So, I mean, a lot of our communication is done through email, really. So everybody gets the same message.
Great.
But the key for us is making sure that we know if they come to any one of the three of us, they will receive the right answer. So before I send out an email, I talk to the others and make sure that they know, like, hey, this is what I'm sending. This is what I mean by it, right? And that's if it's something that's just whatever. But if it's something that is being a management decision that is better for the community or better for the coach, then we've talked about it beforehand, and before we leave the meeting, we know, hey, this is what we mean, right? And then we'll go ahead and deliver it.
Yeah. So everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
I like that. Where do you see the future? I know you've touched on a little bit about it, but like, where do you see like the next, let's say 2 years of the gym? Like, what does that look like?
I would love to have a situation where our gym is open from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. with different classes coming in and different things, right? We're called a studio because we want to reach the masses, right? We want the right people to find the right place for them. And not everybody wants to lift weights, and that's okay. But 4 hours out of the day, maybe 5, we have weightlifting classes. 3 hours out of the day, we have youth performance training. 3 hours out of the day, we have yoga. And then if we continue to add things, then we're going to get to a point where the whole day is open, but with options. You're not walking in and always seeing the same thing. The beauty of that goes with, maybe on Mondays and Tuesdays, you like to lift weights, but on Wednesdays, you want to do yoga.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to the same place. You're just coming in at a different time. That's really the goal there. But I would tell you, the main goal for us would be to grow the space, right? If we can get the right members in, then we can continue to grow the space. The sky's the limit from that perspective, in a sense that if you could tell me that I could run aerial and yoga at the same time as I could run, a cross training, class, or a youth performance class, that's game changer.
You think that's something that separates you guys from like other gyms? Because I don't think there's any other gym that does like the variety of stuff, right? It's usually just like a CrossFit gym,
right?
And they just have those classes.
That separates us from a target perspective, right?
Yeah.
We're not targeting only CrossFit minded people. And there's some really good CrossFit gyms around here too. I'm not taking anything away from them. So that piece of it is strong. But there isn't, to my knowledge, any youth performance training or anybody who is focused on agility and injury prevention for everyone, right? For years, CrossFit had this, bad perception that they were just pushing you to get hurt. Just go heavier, try the movement, even if you weren't there. And it's such a bad perception because I've never experienced that. And I've been doing CrossFit for almost 20 years. And every coach I've ever had was always focused on form and keeping you in line. When I say keeping you in line, is because I'm the dummy that wanted to beat you, Donnie.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself for an extra rep or an extra pound, right? And when my body was telling me not to,
Yeah.
and that's when, you blow a shoulder or you pop
Yeah.
a hip out or
Yeah.
something,
The back goes out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But if you're, if you're there to, do what you do and get your day started and things like that, then I think that just, it's such a good way to work out.
Yeah.
CrossFit had it right. The mentality is so good. Obviously as an organization, they're having their issues right now, and it's a shame to see because they're, like I said, the thought behind CrossFit is awesome.
Yeah. And just the community aspect, right, of CrossFit, and then like what you guys are doing too. I know you're involved, like just being a part of the community. That's how we met, was at the downtown
Yeah,
Palm Harbor market, right?
that's right.
But I mean that's a big part of I feel like it's a big part of maybe just like in our local area, right? But like the small businesses and stuff, like if you can show up and be a part of the community in some way, like that's gonna go a long way too.
Absolutely. I mean, it's more important to be part of the community than it is to be um, located centrally,
Mm.
right? So if I was located, near here where most people drive in Palm Harbor,
Mhm.
right? I think everyone would recognize our logo. But I'm located in a spot where the majority of people who live in Palm Harbor don't drive by there,
Mhm.
So the logo may not be recognizable. Or even when I tell you, oh, I'm right next to JJ Gandy's, right? Like, JJ Gandy's, but you're like, oh, I've never seen your gym. I
Yeah.
was like, well, that logo's been there for a long time. So it's one of those things. I think that's why getting involved, and it's more about who you know, not what you know, right?
Mhm.
Like, I may be the world's greatest coach, or I may be, I might have the best equipment, or whatever. But if nobody knows you're there, if nobody knows where your heart is, then what's their motivation to go check it out,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's what's really cool about when you come in and, you meet the heart by meeting the people who are working out there. That's where it's at. You don't have to sit down with me or Pablo or Brandon and to really know what our vision is. Our vision is those people,
Mhm.
and some of them, Donnie, they've been there for, man, Mel and Robin, I think, have been there since day one.
Crazy.
Yeah. I think they were part of the first owner started the gym thought in his garage, and I think they were part of going to the garage and working out with him. I mean, I know TR and Paul were part of that as well, and there's you have people who they are the heart of the gym.
Yeah.
It's not about who owns it.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. And like you said, like once you show up there, then that's when you really truly get to experience like what you guys are creating and stuff. And,
Exactly.
yeah. And then you get bought into it, and then it's like,
Yeah.
now you have some great friends that you're gonna know for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, Pablo and I have jobs, right? Like our goal was never to make money here. Our goal was to help a friend and, you know, continue to build the community. That's why we are really fond of the co-op
Yeah.
thought, right? Um, and we'll see if we can get there, but that's our next, that's our next goal is to get out of the red so that we can start,
Hmm.
um, bringing partners on.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea. So, where are you located for those people that don't drive up that way?
Yeah. So we're right across the street from Highlands of Innisbrook, right next
Yep.
to JJ Gandy. So if you know where um, Gracie Palm Harbor is, we're in the same parking lot, just on the opposite building. So
Hmm.
right across the street from that.
Yeah. Kind of like North Palm Harbor, just on like off alternate 19.
Yeah, alternate 19, just south of Klosterman, north of Alderman.
Yeah.
And um, we are just north of the entrance to Wall Springs Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Gonzo, man, thanks for being here. This has been fun to get to know you a little more and learn about your business. So
Thank you very much for having me. I mean, I think it's a great thing that you do. I love seeing the podcast and the people that you interview because one of the things I love about my job as a commercial banker is getting to know where I live. And I think that's what you're doing is allowing people who may not have that opportunity to know the story and and the heart behind what's happening in Palm Harbor. So thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's all about community, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. It's just building a community.
Excellent.
So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. We are incredibly grateful for our sponsors, Jacob with Roadmap Money, who make this show possible. Now be sure to support these local businesses and let's keep building community together. We'll see you next week.